stunning architecture and amazing art. Paris is a beautiful and romantic city with many secrets. In this video, I will show you some of Paris' mysteries and tell you why it's called standing on bones. I will also try some delicious French food and give you tips on what to see in a week. I will tell you which areas are great to visit and which ones you might want to avoid. Let's see why everyone loves Paris. So I arrived to Paris during Olympic Games, and what I noticed is there are a lot of police right now. Police is everywhere. When I was here 5 years ago, there was a lot of homeless people. So now police controls everything to make image of Paris like beautiful city, you know. What else? Now their subway and buses are 4 euros instead of 2 euros because during Olympic Games. And what I noticed after America is there is no air conditioning in the buildings. So when you go to store, when you go to bus, a restaurant, it's very warm inside. So you can get warm inside, not to get cold like in America. And I saw a bus where it was written in English, air condition inside. So I think it's special for Americans who like air conditioned. It was very funny. Also, nobody here asks for your ID when you buy alcohol in a restaurant, for example, because in France everyone can drink wine, even in childhood, because here it's a culture of drinking wine. The first thing I noticed was the Notre Dame Cathedral. Just look at these amazing figures. It took over 180 years to build. Underneath Notre Dame, they found remains of the ancient Roman city of Lutetia. Architecture was used to send important messages, expressing society's views and beliefs. People shared their thoughts, ideas, and cultural values through the buildings they created. Paris began on the isle called La Cité, the island where Notre Dame stands. And this is where you can find the oldest buildings in the city. This is how Paris looked in ancient ages. By the way, did you know that under Paris there are 300 kilometers of catacombs where the bones of 6 million people are kept? You know that I didn't used to like history, but when I started to travel, I started to love history, and now I know that here was the cemetery many years ago. It was 11th century when the cemetery was founded here, and in the 18th century there was so many bodies buried here that it was horrible smell here, and the government decided to remove all the bodies to the Paris Catacombs. Paris Catacombs under the Paris, 300 kilometers. Can you imagine that? It's a lot of space. So during a few years, people were moving bodies to the catacombs at night, and it was in 18th century, if I remember. But the whole story, it's crazy. Can you imagine that? Wow. And now in the catacombs you can buy a ticket and go for excursion, but not all 300 kilometers, of course. Just the main part of catacombs. You can see the bones, skeletons. They are placed in very decent way, but in other place there's just the mess, you know. I watched a few movies about Paris catacombs and it was a very scary movie. When you die, you can, no matter who you were during your life, the famous person, poet, actor, I don't know, whoever, or the just poor person living on the street, it doesn't matter. All bones are buried together in the catacombs. That's scary, yeah. And many people were burned on the fire and on the main square, and people were watching with amusement because they didn't have TV, they didn't have internet, they didn't have any movies, amusement, and when somebody were killing somebody, it was very fun for other people to watch. And people were killed, people were burned for their ideas, for their scientific discoveries, for different poems, books. But somehow we are where we are. Okay, let's move forward.
In France and Italy, people usually don't gain weight, even though there is so much delicious food. One of the main reasons for this is their approach for eating. They value quality over quantity. For them, food is not just a necessity, but a ritual, a way to truly enjoy life. Almost every meal is accompanied by a glass of wine, which not only complements the food but enhances its flavors. Paris is not just the city of love and art, it's also a true paradise for food lovers. If you are planning to visit this amazing city, you definitely need to try its exquisite delicatessens. Let me show you some of the must-try foods in Paris. Oysters are one of the most famous seafood delicacies you can try in Paris. By the way, this bar was the best oyster bar in the whole Paris. Just look how big and juicy oysters are. Frog legs are a classic French delicacy. These small but tasty pieces of meat are often compared to chicken, but with a more delicate texture. But to me it tasted more like a fish. Escargots are another French delicacy. They are usually cooked with garlic, parsley and butter, which gives them an amazing taste. Snails are served in special shells and need some skill to eat, but this only adds fun to your food adventure. Foie gras is the liver of specially fed geese. Its taste is very rich, buttery, and very tender. Foie gras is served with something sweet like figs or jam. Truffles are the most expensive mushrooms in the world. The smell of a truffle is unique and cannot be confused with anything else. You can add it to different food like pizza or pasta. Of course, we cannot forget about French cheeses. Yes, very smelly ones. Do you like French cheese? They go well with the crispy baguette that the French people buy in the mornings from local shops.
morning from Paris. It's a bit rainy today. I'm going for my coffee and croissant. So today I'm gonna show you the city. Let's go!
Le Marais, known for its beautiful historic buildings and trendy boutiques. Le Marais combines a historic atmosphere with modern lifestyle. There are many restaurants, bars, and cultural events here, making the area very lively and interesting. Next neighborhood is Saint-Germain-des-Prés. This elite place is famous for its cafes, art galleries, and of course, boutiques. It has a cozy atmosphere and is considered one of the most beautiful areas in Paris. The oldest church in Paris, dating back to the 6th century, is located here. Inside the church, there are unusual frescoes and stained glass windows that look quite dark and mysterious. The atmosphere in this old church is unbelievable. Montmartre. This neighborhood is famous for its artistic heritage and picturesque streets. Montmartre used to attract creative people, and it was home to the bohemian lifestyle of the 20th last century. The famous basilica is also located here, and in the square you can have your portrait drawn for just 50 euros. Next, we will head to the most famous symbol of Paris and perhaps the entire world, the Eiffel Tower. This unique monument has long embodied the spirit of Paris, romance, and architectural elegance. Since its construction in 1889, the tower has captivated millions of tourists from around the globe. And then I went on the boat ride along the Seine River, viewing the landmarks from a different perspective and watching how the French live their lives. Paris is always a good idea, even in the rain. This expression has come to symbolize the romantic view of the city, no matter the weather. This is the Palace of Justice. It stands on the site where judicial buildings existed since ancient Roman times. In the Middle Ages, the palace was the residence of the French kings until they moved to the Louvre. The Palace of Justice became the site of famous executions and the delivery of verdicts. Now let's go to Montparnasse Street, known for its famous restaurants with their charming red roofs. These places were once the heart of cultural life and popular spots for meeting notable people. Iconic restaurants like La Coupole, La Dôme, La Select, and La Rotonda still keep their special charm today. They are busy with locals from the early morning, but after lunch many of them close and don't open until 7 p.m. So, if you are hoping for dinner at a really great spot, you will have to wait until the evening. Next, we head to the Luxembourg Garden, a picturesque place created in the 17th century at the request of Maria de' Medici. The garden surrounds the Luxembourg Palace and is famous for its green alleys, statues, and fountain. It's a perfect spot for a picnic, reading a book, or even listening to an orchestra. While walking through Paris, I suddenly came across Le Procop restaurant, which turned out to be the oldest cafe in Paris and one of the first in the world. This is more than just a cafe. It's a true historical landmark where philosophers, writers, and politicians of the 18th century once gathered. And the next place is one of the most impressive and historic places in Paris. It was originally built to care for war veterans and has a deep connection to French military history. By the way, the word hotel used to mean a place for care, like a hospital, and this complex served that purpose for soldiers who had fought in wars. Today it is a museum and place of great history. One of the most famous parts of the Hotel des Invalides is the tomb of Napoleon I. After he died on the island of St. Helena, his body was brought back to France almost 20 years later and buried under the beautiful golden dome. The dome is stunning, with its golden shine and incredible artwork, making it a truly unforgettable sight. The next landmark worth seeing both from the outside and inside is the Palais Garnier Opera House. You need a ticket to enter the Opera House, and even just walking through its halls will be an amazing experience. The inside is stunning. Marble stairs, shining chandeliers, beautiful decorations, and the famous ceiling painted by Marc Chagall make it very luxurious. If you want to watch a show in the main hall, tickets start at €100 and can be more depending on the performance and seats. Next, from the Opera House, we take a short walk to Palais Royal, a royal district where the famous Louvre is located. The history of this area goes back to the times of the French kings. The Louvre is home to one of the largest and most famous art collections in the world. If you plan to visit the Louvre Museum, it's a good idea to buy tickets in advance. Even with a ticket, be prepared for a waiting line, which can take at least 30 minutes. The museum entrance is through the famous glass pyramid, which has become the modern symbol of the Louvre. The Louvre was originally built as a fortress in the 12th century and became a royal palace in the 16th century. It was a home to French kings until Louis XIV moved the royal residence to Versailles. The Louvre turned into a public museum only in 18th century. The most famous painting in the Louvre is Leonardo da Vinci Mona Lisa. Each year about 10 million people visit the Louvre. The Louvre's endless hallways and galleries, once filled with royal secrets, are now bustling with tourists eager to experience the grandeur of the past. Though the royal chambers have been replaced with exhibition rooms, the sense of elegance and majesty still fills the air. And that's what I noticed. Near the famous painting of Mona Lisa, there were crowds of people, while on the third floor of the museum, where truly remarkable paintings are displayed, only a few people wandered around. It's if people are drawn to the well-known symbols, overlooking the hidden gems. Often people follow the crowd not because they genuinely want to, but because it's what is expected. If hundreds of thousands say, Paris is the city of dreams, it creates the feeling that it must be true, even if you haven't been there yet and haven't formed your own opinion. Many people come to Paris simply to take a photo with the Eiffel Tower and check it off their list, without exploring the city's history or culture. It becomes a race to visit as many places as possible, where the number of spots matters more than the quality of the experience. I've been to Paris 4 times, and I feel like I've only seen about 50% of its beauty. Every time I visit, the city shows me something new, and I realize there is still so much more to explore. Paris isn't just the Eiffel Tower, it's endless little streets, hidden parks, and small bistros you find by chance and want to visit again. Lastly, I will show you a very unusual sight in Paris, the Père Lachaise cemetery, which is 200 years old. What's surprising is that the most impressive graves in Père Lachaise don't belong to famous writers and cultural figures, but to lesser known but very wealthy people. A burial here costs between 16,000 to 30,000 euros, depends on the size of the plot and its location in the cemetery. Paris is beautiful inside and out. On the outside, it has amazing buildings, elegant streets, and wide roads full of history. But its true beauty is inside, in cozy cafes, with music from street performers, and in quiet alleys where every stone tells a story. That's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and let me know what you think of my vlog.